Hello everyone and welcome back to another Space Engineers video. Today we're going to be not building, but today we're going to be taking a topic video. And today we're going to be talking about 5 things that I think would make Space Engineers better. I tried to stay away from things that are modded in the game already, but some of them actually are able to be modded. But anyway, let's get into it. So the first one I have on here, on this list, is a way to scroll through the different build states of blocks. And as you can see in the video playing already, which is just the default stuff that's in the background of the Space Engineers menu, you can see the different built down blocks that aren't completely built or whatever. And if you want them in survival, you just not build them as much. But if you want them in creative, you have to build the block, which builds at its completed state, and then use a grinder to grind it back down. It'd be really nice if we could just place the block in the first place, not have to place the block, grind it down. If you wanted to use it a lot, you'd have to place it somewhere else, grind it down, then copy and paste it everywhere else. So one of the ways I thought to do this was we already have, like, select the block, like the normal square block, and then you can scroll through the different shapes. So it has like the slope in the corner, invert corner, and stuff like that. Why not go to the block and hold, let's say, Control, and then scroll through them, and that will give you the different block build states. So that gives it kind of a little more flexibility in the creative building. It'll make it a lot easier for building stylized stuff faster. And I think it'd be a very welcome addition, especially if mods got a hold of it and was able to put their versions in. So just build states that we can access instead of having to use a grinder to get to them every time. So next one is better character customization. This one is an odd one because I think I hold an odd opinion where I think most games should have better character customization. And it's kind of one of those things that I want in everything. I don't necessarily want multiplayer in everything like everything is, but this game, obviously. Yeah, but anyway. I want to customize my character in every sort of way. Not just gender, but facial hair, color, and everything else. Because it makes the character more personable to me. Like, I don't currently hold a giant beard or have a death stare the entire time. And I think Keen could really work on their character art. They seem to have very dead-faced characters. So we're gonna move on to the next one, and this one is technically a modded thing, and that's more textures. And this is something I will ask any game that will ever exist to do, as long as it's creative and lets me build stuff, is I want to use more textures. I have a mod for diamond plating and for wood textures, but the way I use them, because I almost never use large blocks, the mods don't implement their small block correctly, and so it's just a scaled down texture and it looks terrible. So I want, natively supported more textures like wood, stone, those basic building textures, not just metal. Because metal, yeah, it's sci-fi and industrial and all that, but it's not very homely. It's not something that you build on Earth like with. So it's just one of those things, like, I think of concrete and maybe even plastics and things, just different textures and different grades of shininess. Like, could you imagine like a marble floor texture or a glass floor? I know we have glass panels, but maybe a glass floor or something that like gives us a level of polish where we have nicer reflections, or a completely matte surface. It'd just be really interesting to have these different things. And of course we can mod these things in, but I've tried. I'm terrible at it, and no one's really doing small blocks, or for that matter decent, really custom good texture blocks. They seem to be haphazard textures. So for number 4, we're going to go into a close to my heart topic, and that's fully supported small grids. And like I said, I don't deal with large grids very much because I don't like the detail level that you can get out of it. And obviously it is a skill to use the blocks in it at different build states to get different levels of detail. It makes almost sense until you think of any other sci-fi art. Then it stops making sense instantaneously, and the level of detail that you get running through a corridor in large blocks is just terrible in comparison to any other kind of art. Like when you look up sci-fi corridor on anything, you will get this level of detail, even if it's a basic corridor, that you just cannot get in Space Engineers. And just using the corridor blocks in Space Engineers just looks terrible and repetitive. So I would like them to just support all the smaller grid stuff so we can make smaller grids, and for that matter, optimize smaller grids so they're not taking up all of the graphics power to do, or CPU power to contain all the physics. There's plenty of tricks that are used in the industry. I'm not sure, I'm not a coder, not a developer, I wouldn't necessarily know, but I'm pretty sure that they could optimize it a little more. Maybe ask around, I don't know if you can do that in the game industry, like how do you optimize your game and stuff like that. Or maybe bring on a specific math or physics programmer, because those exist, and see if they can find some way of optimizing it. Or it might be just something that the entire engine has a problem with, and maybe we might see it in maybe a sequel engine or a sequel game, something like that. So we shall see, but I would really like a fully supported small grid. It seems like kind of a tack on, like, oh, we want to build smaller ships, I guess we'll just make a smaller grid, so we only need these blocks, so that's all we're going to do. And I always load in a small grid mod when I'm building a world, because I like building with small grids. I can make corridors that make sense, and bridges that have like details on them, and ledges and stairs, and there's no end. Like, this channel is almost built on me building small blocks, so it would really be nice. But we're gonna move on. So moving on to probably one of the most requested things that I've seen in this game, and that's NPCs. And it's probably everyone has their own definition of what that means, but I see it on kind of both ends of the spectrum. Like on the one end, give me a space engineer that doesn't move, just kind of idles in place. On the other side, a space engineer NPC that can move around and has quests and can get in the ship and fly away, and will have like things that he goes and does and can get into combat and all that. So where I'd like to see him is somewhere right above being able to walk around a single area. So maybe have some canned, like, hello, how are you doing, kind of lines, and just be able to idle around somewhere. Something I can just like put in a build and to make it look a bit more alive, instead of like saying, hey, I need 5 people to just walk around this build to make it look like it's being used. Maybe like Terraria's system, where they show up out of nowhere, so the game just like throws one at you and says, hey, this guy wants a house, kind of thing. Or maybe you like find a station and there's refugees or something, and they want to come on board your ship. Maybe you don't have space for them, so you can't, or maybe you do and they can. So something like that. I assume the whole refugees on station would be a lot harder to get working, because you have to spawn the station, you have to spawn the AI, they have to be able to navigate to a different physics grid, and then you have to spawn some drop-off point for you to get to, and they have to transition out of that. So they have to be able to path from where they are around to your ship, then on your ship, then around your ship, and not look for their way out until you lock on, and then they have to path off your ship onto this other physics grid. And that is just complicated just to say, much less to do in code. And I've been looking up different ways of doing pathing, and none of it's simple, none of it's great, especially for games where you can change the terrain or whatever. And the only good example I've known was a mod in Minecraft, and it made Minecraft stuff look amazing. So I don't know, maybe we could do something like that. So there is one last one I wanted to mention, kind of a bonus thing. That's moving voxels. And this came to me kind of beaten over the head while I was getting ready to go to sleep. And I was thinking of Stellaris, and now they have giant ships, pirates, with asteroids integrated into the ships. And this is probably not available in this engine at all because of how the entire engine is coded. So it'd be something that would be, like I said earlier, in a sequel engine, or would just have to be in a different engine and not Space Engineers at all. So maybe a sequel game might have Space Engineers in a different engine, but it is Keen's engine, so they don't have to pay or anything. So we'll see. We'll have to see what happens and all that. But that has been the video, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you haven't already. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.